Okay, looks like we are on. Let me just check the stream here. Okay, well, good evening, ladies and gents, from the Isle of Man here. We're going to be talking about some of this, we're going to talk about this main story today. A really weird one, actually, came out earlier today, which I thought, oh, I've got to stream that. And then within a couple of hours, the whole story changed. And I'm still trying to get my head around this, and even the numbers don't add up. But this was the story that came out earlier. It is Metropolitan Police. The Ministry of Defence offers military support after armed officers turn in their weapons. So I saw that and thought, wow, that is a big story. Why would these armed officers be turning in their weapons? Although I had a very good idea why. Now, the story began by talking about how 100 officers had handed in their weapons from the Met Police. So 100 officers, that's how it started. But then we'll find out shortly that it wasn't 100 officers, because I thought, why would they need the army to come in to help out for just 100 officers? Very unusual. So in a statement, the Met, so the UK London Police, Metropolitan Police, said some officers were worried about how the Crown Prosecution Service decision to bring a charge impacts them. So you start looking into it a bit more and you kind of realise what this is all about. They don't want to talk about it, they don't want to say it, because if they start talking about this topic, then they're going to be called racist or things like that. So I think the reason a lot of the police officers are not giving a reason, they're just saying that they want to hand their license back, is because I think they don't want to get into this whole situation. So that's how it began with this article. And then we very quickly moved to this article. I mean, it happened so quickly that it was very strange. And it says, Army stood down as enough Met Police armed officers return to duty. Okay, so bear this in mind a second. They said they had to call in the army because these 100 officers handed in their firearms. But then when you actually look into it, it wasn't 100 officers. They say it was 300 officers out of 2,500 officers. Now, just a quick calculation on that, 300 into 2,500, I think it's 12%. So 12% is a lot of police officers that actually gave in their firearms over concern. In fact, let me read out some of this so you'll get context. So they said the army has now been stood down from supporting the police after hundreds of officers stepped back from firearms duties. So that was what happened. They handed in their weapons. Soldiers were put on standby after a number of officers are now considering their position. So what's happening is a lot of firearms officers now don't, and again, if you're watching from outside the UK police don't have firearms. Okay, I know it's common in California, in US and Canada, I was going to say, and other places, but it's not common in the UK for police officers to walk around with firearms. So that is what this whole thing is over. But we'll get on to some statistics in a moment that I pulled up. So this has all come after an officer was charged for the shooting of Chris Cabba, who was shot last September. Officers from other forces have been drafted in to help because so many officers have given in their firearms. And actually, if you read the reasons why they've said it, it does make a lot of sense. That they're saying that they're really concerned for their families. They're concerned that if they were an officer that had to discharge their firearm, then their families could be in danger and all sorts of other stuff. So they say it's just not worth the risk. So it's a real challenge that the police have got at the moment if you start looking through this. So a police stateswoman, it says, oh wow, I thought they'd say a person, but they say woman. As of lunchtime on Monday, the number of officers who have returned to duty was sufficient. So how is it sufficient if they couldn't handle 100? Now there's 300 and they're saying that it's now sufficient. Very strange. They're saying it's come after the MOD received a MACA request, a military aid to civil authorities, from the Home Office on Sunday. So this is how extreme it got, how bad it got. There was so little armed officers that they couldn't actually respond to armed events, which is strange because why would, in a country where they say there's no guns, there's no firearms, how is it that the police can't respond to firearms offences? And this is the thing that people don't understand, I think. Everyone always says there's no guns in the UK. Actually, there is. There's a lot. There's a lot of them. Where did they all come from, you ask? Where did all these, how is this crime increasing so dramatically? It's a mystery. No one seems to know. It's a mystery. New Scotland Yard said measures will be kept under review, but added since Saturday evening, extra officers have been called in from neighbouring police forces. So there we go. We're starting to get to the truth of it now. And then when we pull up the details, and this one made me smile actually when I read this. Again, a spokeswoman for the Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire and Hertfordshire Armed Police Unit confirmed that they had sent their officers. So it's nothing to do with it being stood down. But the one that made me smile was Leicestershire Police said it cannot spare any officers and they haven't got enough officers themselves. Now, I remember Leicester a long time ago, and I don't remember it being that bad, but I guess things have changed a lot. Earlier on Monday, the Met said officers, I'm going to talk about the US as well in a moment, by the way. Earlier on Monday, they said that the officers were having ongoing discussions about their concerns and the concerns to their families. And many are worried about the decision, how it impacts them. And the main thing is they're concerned about their families and their children. And I can completely understand that. But there's a chart here that shows where these officers are being sent. Well, this is a lot of the officers here. You can see where the most is needed. It's in London. On Monday, so the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, said he's backed a review ordered by the Home Secretary to look into armed policing guidelines. What did he say? Our firearms officers do an incredibly difficult job. They're making life or death decisions in a split second to keep us safe, and they deserve our gratitude for their bravery. A former officer who's just left the firearm unit said that the risk to the officers and to their families is just too great. He said it's not a coordinated protest. No one's protesting. The officers are not protesting. They're just very quietly making this decision on their own. It's not as if loads of people are coming together to do this. And he said it's a very sad day now that we have to have the army come in to do the police's job. Sir Mark Rowley suggested the officers are concerned that they'll face years of legal proceedings, even though they're just sticking to their tactics and trainings that they've been given. Officers need sufficient legal protection to enable them to do their job and keep the public safe without the fear of, the mob mentality, I guess he's talking about here. Now, I pulled up some statistics. As you know, I like to pull up figures for you. And these are from the official website from the government. Between March 2022, March 2023, there were 18,400 firearm operations in England and Wales, and 20% of these were the Met. So again, 18,400 of these incidents. Where on earth, or you've got to keep asking the question, where are all these guns coming from that are flooding into the UK now? Now, a quick one on the US policing as well, because this has got some crazy stuff. Actually, before we just jump on to the US policing, I think it's because I was looking up police stuff today. I got this article shown to me. You've probably seen it. It's about this professional football player. And it says, Maddie Cusack, police not treating Sheffield United death as suspicious. So this is a 27-year-old super fit female that was found dead at home. And again, they're saying that she died of natural causes. Sorry, a fit 27-year-old dies of natural causes. Yeah, okay, I think I smell something there. But again, so many of these articles keep coming out. Natural causes, 27, fit, healthy. Yeah, of course. Okay, so let's move on to the US then. And we've got a similar story around the police here then. So all over America, we're seeing a massive shortage. This is from Zero Hedge. So we like the Zero Hedge articles, don't we? So really what they're talking about here is that since all this defunds the police situation that's taken place in the US, and especially in those cities where they said defund the police, now there's massive issues there. These cities are seeing the most crime all over the place, out of the whole country, in these cities. So they're talking about how there's a massive crime wave sweeping the country. They can't even get police. They can't recruit police to come into these posts. Minneapolis, which is the sort of epicenter of how this started, the officer count has fallen by 35%. They're well below the minimum. So they can't, and this is since 2020, so they can't even staff the police force. Some of the recommendations coming out from the police force now is unreal. You wouldn't believe it. And actually, it's got some statistics here saying that Minneapolis used to be one of the most beautiful cities in the whole of the USA, but now it's a crime-infested hole. This is what they're saying. I'm just very carefully reading this before I read it out, because there's some interesting words in here. But yeah, they're saying they can't even staff the front desk. The station's front desk is not staffed. They haven't got enough officers. Similar in San Francisco. San Francisco police force is now recruiting from Texas. So they're going on this big recruitment drive in Texas. Texas Southern University in Houston, Sam Houston State University in Huntsville, Prairie View A&M University, and Texas A&M University, Corpus Christi. So it says, if you've always dreamed of serving as a police officer in a lawless city with hordes of drug addicts, this is your chance, ladies and gents. And in Seattle, this is the one that, well, it didn't surprise me, but I guess we saw this one coming. In Seattle, citizens are now being told to give up your car keys. And if a criminal comes to you, just give them whatever they want, and make sure you've got insurance, because the police aren't going to really look into this. They're not going to try and prosecute. They haven't got the resources. They're saying just give over your stuff and then claim it on your insurance. I mean, it's gotten so bad. It said a wealthy man in Connecticut was carjacked inside his own garage. And so the police are giving advice and guidance now on what to do. If you think you're being followed, drive to the police station. I mean, this is unbelievable. This is USA we're talking about here. Can you believe this? Well, the UK and the USA. This is why I keep saying that these places now becoming failed states. They really are. I know some of you are still very optimistic about all of this, and you think it's going to turn around. I don't see it turning around. And a lot of people are using some of my thoughts and theories around tipping point and stuff like that, tipping point theory. I don't really think tipping point theory applies to what we're seeing. Having thought about it a lot more now, I've changed my views on this, because previously what we would see is when nations get super intense crime or something happens, the citizens will eventually realize the politicians, the police aren't doing anything and will do something. But that's already been a closed loop, because if you try and do something, you're called a vigilante and you will be prosecuted way worse than the criminals. And not just that, you look at the average guy, and I don't mean any offense to the guys watching, but I've got to say this. you look at the average guy now, and they are very feminine in nature, and they're told that masculinity is a bad trait, and almost zero muscle mass, no confidence. It's very strange. I mean, the amount of men I know who now wear makeup as well, I'm thinking, what, am I living in the Twilight Zone? One of my buddies, I had to tell him, dude, I don't think I can hang out with you if you're going to wear makeup, sorry. But, you know, these are the sort of things that we're seeing now. And, you know, each to their own. You do what you do. But I don't know. I find it strange being what I'd consider a typical guy in this world now. But I just can't see this turning around. I think it's going to all end very, very badly. One last thing then, and we'll wrap up. So I talked about this letter that had been written about Russell B to Rumble. And I don't know if any of you actually saw what the response was from Rumble, but I thought it was quite interesting. I think it's worth you hearing it. So the response was this. Today we received an extremely disturbing letter from a committee chair in the UK Parliament. While Rumble obviously deplores these acts and all serious crimes, and believes that both alleged victims and the accuser are entitled to a full and serious investigation, it's vital to note that recent allegations against Russell B have nothing to do with content on Rumble's platform. Just yesterday, YouTube announced that based solely on these accusations, it was barring him from monetizing his video content. Rumble stands for very different values. We've devoted ourselves to the vital cause of defending a free internet, meaning an internet where no one arbitrarily dictates which ideas can or cannot be heard, or which citizens may or may not be entitled to a platform. We regard it as deeply inappropriate and dangerous that the UK Parliament would attempt to control who is allowed to speak on our platform, or to earn a living from doing so. Singling out an individual and demanding his ban is even more disturbing, given the absence of any connection between the allegations and his content on Rumble. They go on to say, we don't agree with the behaviour of many creators, but we refuse to penalise them for the actions that have got nothing to do with the platform. Although it may be politically and socially easier for Rumble to join a cancel culture mob, doing so would be a violation of our company's values and mission. We emphatically reject the UK Parliament's demands. So that was the response then from Rumble about this whole situation. And I know a lot of you have said, Neil, you need to get on Rumble. You need to get a platform on there. I probably will do, but it is a lot of hassle, and moving all those videos over is going to be an absolute nightmare. It's not like some of the platforms, you know, you've got Odyssey and things like that. When I joined that, they did it all for me. They copied all of my videos, did it all, set up a link, but Rumble doesn't actually have that. So, and I'm a one-man band, so I don't have, 100 hours to devote to that sort of thing. It's hard enough as it is working 14-hour days, so I just not sure if I can do that at the minute. But I think we'll wrap up there. We got a lot of people online today. Thank you for being online. Hope you enjoyed the stream. And I will, actually one other thing, the reason I'm streaming a lot more at the moment is because YouTube now is focusing heavily on shorts. They want everyone doing shorts. I don't really want to do shorts, but I'm probably gonna have to start doing a few. And then they focus on live streams, right? And then finally it's uploaded videos. So you'll notice some of the videos I upload, they don't get as many views anymore. And I do a live stream and it gets a lot of views, and it's very easy to do. I don't need to do, hours of editing and all the other stuff. So it's just, I'm gonna just start doing a few more streams, get your feedback, see if you like it, drop a comment below. And let me wrap it up before it hits 20 minutes. All right, that's the magic number, under 20 minutes. All right, take care. God bless, guys.